to celebrate. Ooh, shoulder, right, left, right, turn around, walk it through, walk it out. Do the thing with the hands, and then we're gonna spin around, and then we're gonna do electric boogie move, point to the air, point to the ground, and then we're gonna turn around, and then we're gonna do robot, 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 and then we're gonna do shake the shoulders and glide. Praying mantis, fizzy hands, diamond girl. Ooh, shoulder, right, left, right, turn around, walk it through, walk it out. Do the thing with the hands, and then we're gonna spin around, and then we're gonna do electric boogie move, point to the air, point to the ground, and then we're gonna turn around, and then we're gonna do robot, 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 and then we're gonna do shake the shoulders and glide. Praying mantis, fizzy hands, diamond girl. Ooh, shoulder, right, left, right, turn around, walk it through, walk it out. Do the thing with the hands, and then we're gonna spin around, and then we're gonna do electric boogie move, point to the air, point to the ground, and then we're gonna turn around, and then we're gonna do robot, 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 and then we're gonna do shake the shoulders and glide. Praying mantis, fizzy hands, diamond. Ooh, shoulder, right, left, right, turn around, walk it through, walk it out. Do the thing with the hands, and then we're gonna spin around, and then we're gonna do electric boogie move, point to the air, point to the ground, and then we're gonna turn around, and then we're gonna do robot, 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 and then we're gonna do. Yo. Welcome, my friends, my family, my fellow gamers. Your only friend these YouTube streams, Puertorock77. What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. I hope everybody having a great week. I'm a little scruffy, right? Haven't shaved this week. Didn't need to. Usually at least shave once a week. I don't know. It's just something about growing a full beard that's is that I don't know, man. I've been so used to shaving for so long that it's just I still haven't got over that hurdle. I'm trying, but anyway. How's everybody's Friday? How's everybody doing? I hope you're doing great. I'm doing great. Things are awesome. Got a little chilly today in North Carolina. But how's everyone doing out here? How you guys are doing? You guys got any plans for the weekend? It's Friday. It's a weekend. Enjoy it. I know some places got a little bit chilly. Other places getting a little bit warmer. You like the little intro? That is funny. We're gonna have a good time today, man. We're gonna have a good time, man. A few things to talk about, but I still want to say I appreciate you guys showing up. Thank you so much for rocking out, man. I really appreciate you showing up for the Friday Night Live. If you don't mind, let me do share this link out. But while you're here, please hit the like button and share the link out. Let me send this out on Twitter. Let's see. Let's see. Come through. Enjoy the show. I gotta do this on Twitter and Blue Sky. Let me do this. Wait. Ooh. Got a few things to talk about. Some things are just really funny. But let me just check this out real quick. Get this out the way. Post this. All right. Okay. All right. All right. Here we go. Okay. All right. Well, good. Again, I really appreciate you guys rocking out with the channel. Thank you so much. I hope you get to enjoy this Friday Night Live with me. Hit the like button. We're gonna talk a few things. Let's kick it off. I'm just gonna go straight right to it. But don't forget to hit the like button, right? And if you're new to the channel, first time here, right? Please subscribe, and I hope you get to stick around and enjoy the rest of the show. But let's get right into it. Let's get right into it. All right. Let me change the title. Let me change the title. Let me update the title. That was something I did thought of, but I'm gonna update it. I'm gonna go with um, PC gamers still upset. Still upset over Sony leaving and Project Helix. Project Helix exposed. There you go. All right. There we go. There you go. Title's been updated. All right. Let's just go back to what's still happening. And I'm like, man, what is it? Week 2, week 3? PC gamers are still upset. They're still upset at Sony abandoning them. Now, there's still a little bit of holdouts. You still got a few holdouts. You still got a few people saying, well, it's not official. It's not official, right? That's their saving grace. That's their last bastion of damage control they can do. But picture this. Picture this. The decision of PlayStation leaving PC has went absolute vitriol. Like it's all over. It's been in the Instagram, it's been on TikTok, it's on Facebook, right? Anything that PlayStation posts, doesn't matter what the topic is. Even the new controllers, those new, colorful controllers that's like dual colored, whatever, the blended colors. PC gamers are hopping on to every post, every content, right? Any social media content that PlayStation or the official PlayStation account pushes out. TikTok videos, doesn't matter what the topic is, they are in there talking about them leaving PC. Instagram photos of games, even like the ones that are on PC, like Tokan, Kenya and stuff like that. PC gamers still complaining about them leaving, whatever. Everything that PlayStation does from a social media perspective, even if it has nothing to do with gaming, like I said, the controllers, whatever, the PC gamers are flooding the comment section. And it's actually pretty funny. But they have taken over the comment sections from PlayStation gamers, right? They're all over the comment section. So this is all over. Sony knows. Sony absolutely knows what happened. Okay? They absolutely know that the PC community was told that they're pulling out. Now, hear me out. If Sony did not make the decision to pull out, let's say Jason Schreier talked to people and they weren't the official people to make the decision, it was just something they heard, and ultimately at the top, Sony did not make the decision to pull away from PC, to pull out, pause, right? If they did not make that decision, they would have said something by now. Because this is impacting the audience they would want to sell to. If Sony still was keeping the same plan, releasing single player first party tempo games to PC, they would have to control that because right now their audience is upset. They are pissed off. They are going after the comment sections. They are threatening them that I will never buy another thing again, that they're going to sell the PS5 that they do have, which is pretty hilarious because if you have a PS5, you probably bought the PS5 so you can play the games that's not on your PC. So it's kind of weird. So you have the console to play the games, but now you're going to get rid of it. So you really can't play the games. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. But then, if they were to keep the games, you just complain that you have no games to play on your console because you could play on your PC. You see how dumb these PC gamers are anyway. If Sony didn't make the decision to pull out, to say, nah, we're done with this, they would have said something. Because all they're getting is negative feedback from the customer base that they wouldn't want to piss off. Right? If you still had the plans to release games to this customer base, then you will calm them down. You would tell them up front, like, listen, that is not true. You will make an official statement. It is not true. We still are releasing, our tempo exclusives at a certain cadence. The plan has not changed. So that way, the audience you're trying to sell to, the PC audience, they don't get pissed off. They can calm down. They can stop flooding all your social media presence with negativity and just spamming and taking over every single topic, even content that has nothing to do with the topic. But Sony hasn't. Sony's just letting them cry everywhere. They're crying on Instagram. PC gamers are crying on TikTok. They're crying on Facebook. They're crying on Blue Sky. They're most definitely crying on Twitter. They're just crying. Crying. Lots of crying. Boo-hoo, crying. My favorite cope, this is my favorite cope. My favorite cope is this from them. Now they're listing multiplats, trying to tell people, oh, we got great games anywhere. And they're just making a list of multiplats, games that's on PlayStation as well. I'm like, okay, sure. You no one said that your multiplats are going to be taken away. Yeah, congratulations. You can play your multiplats. So can we. So can everybody who has those multiplats. You know, the ones who are missing out on most of the big multiplats this year is the Nintendo guys. So they're the ones that are in the hurt locker. You know, for the ones that are, you know, all about third party, they're the ones that are missing out on a lot of big third party games on their play. That's about it. But, you know, I don't need PlayStation games. I can play Resident Evil and I can play this multiplat and that multiplat. Like, all right, cool. It should be all right. Enjoy the multiplats. We're playing them too. We got them too. Everybody got them. We're good. You see what I'm saying? That's where you know they're salty. When they're coming back with multiplats, you know, as a coping mechanism. Okay. Listen, that decision's done. You know, the decision's done. Now we could probably talk about why. You know, let's talk about the why, because that's really what today's about. Everything that we're going to talk about has a why to it. Even when I get cut over to the project Helix, when I cut over to that conversation, we're going to talk about the why behind it. Okay. But the why behind PlayStation. Well, this could be one of the reasons, right? This could be a logical reason. Right? Let me go show you something here because I think I saved it here. All right, where is it at? Okay. Okay, here we go. Let me do this. So over here, it says Bluepoint Tech Boss suggests Sony scared of Valve, not Microsoft. And that's why it's pulling back from PC. It would be quite ironic if Valve ultimately end up winning the console war. Man, talk about PC gamers really doing the most when it comes to these conversations. Now, do I think Steam Machine has a role in this decision? Absolutely. Why not? Why not? I think, as I said before, there are multiple factors into this. I don't think it's just one factor in. That's the thing. Everybody, a lot of people make a mistake. They're trying to find that one golden reason, right? And most of the reasons trying to use to either grift or to do some form of grifting, whatever, when in reality, it can be multiple things. Don't forget to hit the like button, please. But it can be multiple things. It can be multiple reasons that Sony ultimately made the decision to say, hey, we got to pull from PC. Right? Reason number one could very well be in Steam Machine. Remember, there was no talk of Valve coming back with a Steam Machine when Sony made this PC plan in 2019, 2020. There was no talk of that. Right? So at the time, Sony's thinking, we could put our games on Steam and it's not really going to impact the console. I don't agree with it, but that's their perception. They felt Steam and PC don't really interfere with people buying consoles in the console industry. I don't agree with that. I don't co-sign that. Xbox gamers co-signed that shit with Xbox, so they clearly fell for that bullshit. I'm not falling for that bullshit, but that's what Sony feels. Okay, cool. Now things changed. Steam officially revealed that they have a Steam machine and they're going to release it. Now the window release, that's where the question comes in, right? Because of the whole memory, the whole memory thing, and the cost of RAM and all that stuff. That put an issue for Valve, for a lot of companies. So you got Steam launches. Clearly, Steam Machine isn't for the average PC gamer because PC gamer already has their hardware. They have their PC or they have the gaming laptop and they have the Steam Deck or some other version of PC. So who's the Steam Machine really for? It's really for the console gamer. It's Steam's way of trying to attract console gamers. Right? A more, PC environment, but more simplified, Steam OS, in a nice little box with a controller, with a good user interface. Right? And with Steam being able to say you can get your PlayStation games here, you don't need a PlayStation console, because the Steam console can do that, and Xbox games, and their own Steam storefront. That's a proposition that PlayStation will have to compete with. They would be literally giving ammo to their own competition. You know? So that's how it is. Sony has to contend with that. Right? And it doesn't matter, because PC gamers are putting their 2 cents. Listen, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Don't listen to PC gamers about PlayStation. They don't know shit about it. Right? They only look at things from their perspective, on the platform they only care about, which is PC. They give 2 shits about the console at all. So don't ever talk to a PC guy thinking they're talking to you in good faith. That console's fine, whatever. Is Xbox Series X fine? They would have said that the console's fine, that this whole strategy and everything Microsoft doing wouldn't impact the console. Is the console fine? Everything in Xbox is fine. No, it's not fine. So don't listen to them. Okay? Don't listen to them at, Steam's not going to sell a lot. It's really only be sold through their store. Don't give them that. We're not listening, paying attention to y'all. Y'all don't know what you're talking about. Okay? Valve deciding to make a Steam machine is declaring that they're competing for the console space. That's it, point blank. How they handle the logistics, whether they do full-blown logistics going to Amazon, Best Buy, and all that stuff, or they just limit it to the store, well, that's their stupid decision. That's on them. But they made the decision to compete in the console market. And because of that decision, that was probably more reasons, but that's one of the reasons why Sony pulled away. So if anything, you need to talk to Valve and why they included themselves trying to push into the console market. I'll talk to them about that. Second thing, Project Helix. That could be another factor. PlayStation loves the idea that on their console, you get PlayStation games and you get Xbox games. Of course, PlayStation loves that. They absolutely love that. It sells itself. A console that plays, obviously, PlayStation games day one and Xbox games day one, and the best third-party support in console gaming. That's it. That's the selling point. You don't need much else. What more do you need to convince yourself to buy a console? What more? What more do you want? Because everything else is already in place. The controller's fine. Online is fine. All that stuff is automatic. The hardware's good. God, it's not 5090 level, but it's really good. What more do you need? Day one PlayStation games, day one Xbox games, the best third-party support, because, it's doing the whole China project and expanding into other regions. It's got everything. Like, the choice is easy. PlayStation. What more do you want? What more decision-making needs to be said when you're a console gamer wondering what console, right? The only one that would probably, the only situation where there might be a consideration is if you're deciding to get a PlayStation or a Switch 2, and that's because they're 2 unique propositions at that point. Nintendo for the first-party exclusives and the exclusives that they go after versus PlayStation. That's about the only difficult situation a console game will go in. Do you go Nintendo or do you go PlayStation? But other than that, it's easy for console gaming, especially between PlayStation and Xbox. Okay, you buy an Xbox and third-party games, or PlayStation, that's PlayStation, Xbox, and better third-party games. Come on now, it's easy proposition. It's easy proposition. So PlayStation loves the fact that they get in Xbox games, but they will not like the fact of Xbox saying they got PlayStation games because of Project Helix. They're not gonna like that. They're not like that at all. So that's clearly another factor in that decision. So that's 2 things. So those 2 things are the obvious. The other stuff people talk about is the money. Was the juice worth the squeeze? Putting these games on PlayStation. When Horizon Zero Dawn launched on PC, it sold 4 million. It was sold a lot, if y'all remember, right off the gate. But then sales started trending down. Titles started selling less and less and less and less and less and less. Helldivers bought a big spike. Probably sold the best on PC. So that one game is really doing phenomenally well on PC. But that's about it. Nothing else is really hitting the mark. Nothing. Now, of course, PC gamers want to blame Sony on the strategy, meaning the games are not day and date. Well, why did Horizon Zero Dawn do so well? It sold 4 million, it wasn't day and date. And then on the PlayStation side, there are games that don't hit PlayStation day and date. Let's look at Forza Horizon 5. That sold well. I think the main thing is if you really want to play a game and now it's finally on your platform, you'll play it. It's pretty simple, right? But let's say the strategy was, let's say Sony did screw up the strategy. Why did they screw it up? Who said they screwed up the strategy? You know, maybe they can't do day and date without serious investment, which is a conversation they could have had. Maybe they do recognize, right, in order to sell and gain better traction in sales on PC, they have to go day and date. And they ask themselves, well, what would it take for them to go day and date? Full blown as a studio. And what's the cost? And at what cost? What are the unintended consequences of that decision? And they probably looked through it. They probably analyzed it. And they came to the conclusion like, it's not worth it. It's not worth to elevate to that level. It's not worth to invest to get to that point, right? Because chances are they went through issues porting to PC. And they have gone through issues. It wasn't easy as everybody makes it sense. Everybody says, oh, it's easy. It's easy money. It's easy time. They have no trouble. Yet, PlayStation did have challenges porting games to PC. There were some bad ports to PC. The two most well-known ones is The Last of Us 1 and Spider-Man 2. And keep in mind, Naughty Dog and Insomniac, so porting is not easy. And then there's the unintended consequences we don't even know about, but I could imagine, you know. And what I mean by that is when they port games to PC, it's not just Nixes. Everybody thinks, a lot of people think it was just Nixes and that's it. It wasn't. Nixes was not by themselves porting games. They had support from the studio of the game. So Returnal port, they had support from Housemarque. Spider-Man, they had Insomniac support. You know, they had all the support to do that. Now, how much support, how many people, that we don't know the numbers, right? But any amount is still an amount. Any amount of personnel taken away from Naughty Dog, those people are not working on the PS5 game because they're working on the port with Nixes. Any amount of people taken away, using from Insomniac to do the Spider-Man 2 port, those are people not working on, you know, Wolverine or the next game after, whatever. Same thing with Returnal. It takes resources, taking people away. And what happens when things go sideways during the porting development? And it takes longer, maybe an extra 2 weeks, maybe an extra 3 weeks, an extra month, an extra 2 months. That's an extra day, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month away from the PS5 project, making PS5 games. And with 5 years of data, 5 years, you know, all the games they put on PC, they can see all of that. They can see all of the unintended consequences of the decision. And maybe that's another reason. They're like, yeah, between missing milestones and keeping people away from making the PS5 version, Steam Machine, Project Helix, that the sales on the PC side not being like all that great. It's a whole suite of reasons. Where when all combined, Sony's like, it's just not worth it. Too much drama, too much stuff. There's just too much things that pits it against their primary business, which is PlayStation. It's just too much. So they decided, yep, they're done with it. They're focusing primarily on the platform. And I think they need to, especially if they want to dip into more areas, which is their handheld. Because that's apparently coming up. You don't want that handheld to be compared to the other PC handhelds where people could say, why do I need to buy a PlayStation handheld when I could buy a ROG Ally or Logitech Even Go, which still plays PlayStation games plus this, plus that, plus that. You don't want that for your handheld either. You want to try to at least give your handheld a competitive edge. And the best competitive edge for any device in gaming is exclusives. All the other stuff has been second fiddle. Nothing's better than exclusives overall. So you release a handheld with competent hardware, do whatever the things you're going to do. But without exclusives, a lot of people will just bring up the other PC handhelds. They'll bring up the MSI Claw. They'll bring up the Legion Go. They'll bring up the Xbox ROG Ally. That's going to be brought up. Why do I need to buy a PlayStation handheld when I can play the PlayStation game on my Xbox ROG Ally with Game Pass and Steam? That would be a mess. It would be a total mess. That could be another factor. Another factor is Nintendo. They still have long ways to go from being taken serious as a platform that gets third-party support. They have a long way to go, but they are going. They are going in that direction. So, Nintendo Switch 2 with third-party support plus true exclusives. That's something PlayStation had to contend with too. So you see, that's just a lot stacked against the console. If they were to keep going with the PC plan, it was just too much on the console. Between Steam Machine, between Helix, between the social revenue, potential issues during development, Nintendo Switch, the upcoming handheld. There's just a lot of things that because the games are on PC, they didn't really set themselves up for future success. It's a lot. Which is why I think they should have the conversation if they're not already. Now, there's no rumor, there's nothing about what I'm going to say. This is just me talking, and we talked about it on the podcast, but delisting games. PlayStation should delist those games before all of this happens. Before the Steam Machine comes out, before Project Helix, before their handheld comes out, delist the game so that way there's no talk of at least the older games being playable on these newer devices. Because then people can still make up half-assed truths. Not really make up, but they can tell half-assed truths. Oh yeah, with Helix, you can still play PlayStation games, and then they'll show you the PlayStation games that can be played. Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 1, God of War, whatever. And then that creates a false narrative to consumers thinking, oh, then more PlayStation games are coming. When in reality, no. They're just, and we know Xbox community loves to lie to try to sell consoles. I don't know why they want to lie to consumers, sell consoles. That's some cuck shit right there. I never, it's just weird. You want to lie to people so a product can be sold. That's some weird cult shit. But that's what they do because they've done it before. They lied about the product so they could sucker people into buying an Xbox Series X. So they're definitely going to do a Helix. They just love to lie and convince people to buy products based on a lie because of Xbox. They're doing their part on Xbox. That's just how they are. So Sony should delete games. Makes things simple for them. And it prevents Steam machines, prevents Valve, prevents Xbox, Microsoft from doing all the weird stuff. False, and it'll definitely prevent vitriol, grifters on the internet and stuff like that from spreading BS. That's just my opinion. But there's no talk about delisting. But hopefully Sony is having that talk. They should have that talk. They need to go all the way and have a clear, concise image, clear, concise message. That's the way it works, right? So we'll just put it that way. We'll just end off that conversation with that. But let me see some super chats real quick. We're going to start with Afro Thunder. Thank you for the super chat, brother. Afro Thunder says, thanks for serving our country and being in these gaming streets. No doubt. I appreciate it. You are welcome. But I'm glad I'm retired though. I am happy that I retired when I did. But God bless and good luck to all those who are currently serving. But I am absolutely glad that I've done my time. Shout out to Donnell Brown, member for 47 months. Thank you, brother. Let's see. I hope your friends still in the military are safe. I hope so too. Right now they're all safe now. Um, they now have the spear. The ball is in their court now. So I wish them well. Wish my brothers and sisters well. All those serving the armed forces. You know, I pray for your safety. Donnell Brown, $2 super chat says PC dudes want to be part of the console wars. It is funny, and it's because Xbox and PlayStation enabled them, but now PlayStation's pulling away, and now these PC fanboys are livid. They're really upset, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious and it's sad. It just truly shows, you know. You could talk about all the things. This just tells me all the things that they hype about PC. They're not really using. They talk about, oh, I got emulation, and we got a library going back 20 years, and they're not really playing about that. The moment the conversation came about PlayStation putting away games, you saw the true colors. You didn't see like, oh, it don't matter. I play emulation and I do this, and yeah, the true colors came out. It weakened the PC. It weakened the selling point in PC, which they were very used to having. They were very used to saying, we got PlayStation first party, Xbox first party now. PlayStation's out. Right? We got Stefan. Thank you so much for the super chat. Stefan says, putting Xbox games on PS only reminded me why I never bought an Xbox. And here's the thing. That's not being a fanboy. I know some people are gonna say that's being a fanboy. That's just basic consumer. Like, duh. Imagine this. You have two fast food restaurants. You have McDonald's and Burger King. But for whatever reason, Burger King has the McDonald's menu as well. They have the Big Mac, the quarter pounder, and it's the same. It's literally the McDonald's menu, but it's located in the Burger King building. Why would you go to McDonald's where they don't have the Burger King menu? You're going to go to Burger King because you still get your McDonald's menu. You get everything in the McDonald's menu, and you have the choice of Burger King. So you can mix and match whatever you want. If you want two burgers, you can get a Big Mac and a Whopper, right? Or if you prefer the McDonald's chicken nuggets over the Burger King chicken nuggets, you'll get your Whopper meal in a 6-piece. And that barbecue sauce. Listen, I don't know what it is about that McDonald's barbecue sauce, but they need to bottle that and sell it, but they won't. That McDonald's barbecue sauce, I don't know what it is, but I love it. I love McDonald's barbecue sauce. I absolutely love it. And I hate the fact that you can't get it. That's from, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying give it to Burger King. I'm just saying sell it in stores. You know what I'm saying? I need it by the big bottle. I just want, because there's only so many packets you can carry. I want the big ass bottle of McDonald's barbecue sauce. That's all I want. And you don't even have to sell it in the store. Sell it at McDonald's. Sell it at McDonald's. Don't sell it in stores. Exclusively at McDonald's. If you want to buy a big bottle of McDonald's barbecue sauce, you have to get it from McDonald's. I will have that shit ordered. Let me get a number one with a 10-piece and a whole ass bottle of McDonald's barbecue sauce. You know what I'm saying? But just sell the bottle. Don't just leave it in little packets. But anyway, different conversation, right? But ultimately, that's what it is, though. That's what it is. It's really simple. A console that plays PlayStation games, Xbox games, and the best third-party support in the console market. That's, the things Xbox gamers are hyping, you can already do now. There's, like, if you want a console that plays Xbox games, PlayStation games, and third party, it exists today. And it has great technology. You could either get the base PS5 or the PS5 Pro, and that's it. You're done. You don't have to argue, worry about, or wonder what's going on. It's real simple. Major Claridge. Thank you, brother. So somebody in the chat got a membership, courtesy of the Major. Please give him some thank yous, and then follow him on Twitter too. Major's out there on Twitter doing his thing. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, brother. Really appreciate it, right? Now let's hit the like button because we're gonna get into the next topic. Right? It's real clear and concise in this Project Helix. Right? So we've seen, if you haven't already, lots of information being posted out on Project Helix. Right? Lots of technical information. But before we get into that, and I'm not gonna get into the tech talk, I'm gonna get into the simplified version. I'm gonna simplify it. Let's talk about the why, because like I said, this podcast is all about the why behind things, right? It's all about the why. It's always been about the why, right? Why is this happening for Microsoft? Why is there a Helix to begin with? Well, it starts with one main problem, right? That Microsoft has, that Microsoft always had with Xbox. This is a problem that they had since the beginning. They talked about it during the Epic Store Apple trial, where they said that at no point have they been able to get their consoles profitable. They have taken a loss on every sale of their consoles pretty much the whole time. And that blows my mind that they said that, because Sony and Nintendo able to get their consoles profitable. I mean, Nintendo gets their console profitable day one. So they launched their consoles profitable because it's weaker, right? Sony, on the other hand, they release powerful hardware, right? They release powerful hardware, but then within a year to a year and a half, through revisions, right, they get their console to break even eventually, and then for profit. This gen, because of the way things are, they had to raise prices to maintain profitability. You know, it's just the components just getting more expensive from the builders, so they had to adjust pricing, which is unfortunate because traditionally the cost savings, right, of how much, you know, cheaper it is to build consoles, they would slightly reduce the prices so that way it hits a target group that's willing to buy the product at a cheaper price. But somehow this gen, it hasn't really totally impacted PlayStation, because even at the $500 and $550 price point, people are still buying it. I think they're only about 1 million behind in the total global scales of PS4, which is still pretty impressive, because PS4 by this point was already down to like $250, $300. It was really cheap to get a PlayStation 4. Meanwhile, you know, PlayStation 5 is still at 550, 500, right? But ultimately, the lesson is every time PlayStation made a revision, and the revision isn't like the PS5 Slim. No, like within a year and a half, they release different models, but you can't really tell because they all look the same, but the internals change. And they revise it. And the reason why they revise it, because the internals get cheaper to make. And that's how they ultimately get to profitability. So they launch their consoles out the gate, you know. So 2020, PlayStation 5 was being sold for, you know, with the disc being sold for 500, the slim model for 400. They were both being sold at a loss. But then I think the disc, the all digital one, was the first to enter break even and end up being profitable. And then this drive version followed along. Ultimately, they start out losing money, but through revisions, within by a year and a half, the consoles are now profitable. Microsoft has not been able to do that at any point. Now I think the Series X is profitable only because they drastically raised the price. I mean, the damn thing is $650 for a Series X. Like, what are we talking about here? Or some weird shit. $650 for a Series X? That is insane. $100 cheaper than a Pro? $100 more expensive than the PS5? That's ridiculous. But that's what it takes for them to not be sold at a loss anymore. So Microsoft always had that problem, right? Now, when you think about it, they accepted that during the OG Xbox era, because the OG Xbox era was all about them getting their foot in the door in the industry with hopes of finding more success in the following gen, to which they did. Xbox 360 gen, they did a lot better. They sold 80 million consoles, right? They sold a hell of a ton of software. Their first party was actually pumping. Halo 3 sold like 13 million. The Gears franchise sold 8 million plus each copy, right? Then they had big big exclusives, big third party, exclusives or time exclusives. Things like BioShock came out first. Um, Elder Scroll, Oblivion, Mass Effect 2, right? BioShock. I mean, these are big, big games. These aren't like small games, right? Like, PlayStation Edition has some, console exclusive or whatever, like Kenya, Stellar Blade, but none of those games are on the level, or at least on this time, we're nowhere near on the level as a BioShock during the 360 days, or Mass Effect. Like, come on, Mass Effect was one of the top games, top franchises of that gen. So Xbox had timed exclusives to some of the biggest games, which means they will make an insane amount of money because all those sales, the 360 benefit from that. And then you had the only subscription service, paid online subscription service at the time, Xbox Live, which was considered the better online service. So they were making money off that. So Xbox was making money off the game sales, off the first party sales, off a third party. A lot of the third party was selling better on Xbox than PlayStation, right? The arcade was doing better, and they had timed exclusive titles, huge titles in the arcade before PlayStation got them. Braid, Super Meat Boy comes to the top of my head. There was just a lot on 360, and they were making money, but they were still losing money on their console. But that's okay because they were making so much money on software and services. And that's what Microsoft thought was going to continue to happen. They'll lose money, but they'll make a lot more through software and services until Xbox One came out. And that screwed up everything. Because they were still losing money on the console, but the console wasn't really selling. Therefore, the big and PlayStation got back on his box. It got back on the stride. So Xbox One wasn't getting all the big games like it did. I think it started out with Titanfall and Tomb Raider, but then that quickly fizzled out. It wasn't getting the big games no more. It wasn't getting the big sales. PlayStation took over Call of Duty. 360 had Call of Duty on lock. And remember, during the 360 PS3 era, the DLC was timed exclusives. It wasn't day and date across all platforms. It was actually exclusive, and 360 benefited from that. So most of the Call of Duty players were on 360. That everything changed once they shifted to PS3 because of 1080p or whatever nonsense. And the price also was $400 for a PlayStation within the when it launched and within the first year, while Xbox is $500 and wasn't even 1080p. That was a huge issue. 720p for $500, 1080p for $400. Even if, you know what I'm saying? So that's how a lot of gamers saw it. Why would you pay more money for less? So that hurt the brand also as part of that, besides the launch and a whole bunch of other issues. But the Xbox console sales was floundering. So you're getting less sales. You're not getting the third-party support. And then what's even worse, your own first-party support's floundering. People were not feeling Xbox first-party games anymore. Gears of War 4 and 5 wasn't really the breakout hits 1, 2, and 3 were. Halo 5 was a letdown for a lot of people. Crackdown 3, people weren't feeling that. Recore, it was just a lot of underwhelming games. Even Quantum Break, it was just a lot of underwhelming games and projects that they partnered with that just didn't make the cut for them. So now they're not getting the software revenue. So now you're not getting the software revenue, you're not getting the service revenue, but you still have the console revenue loss. You're still selling consoles at a loss. Okay. A whole gen went by of Xbox One. Phil Spencer admitted he lost bad. He even said that was the worst generation to lose. So we don't need to debate about that. Anybody who tries to debate, don't even have a conversation. He already admitted it. But then the Xbox Series generation didn't end up any better. In fact, arguably, it was worse, you could say. The Series generation is even worse than the Xbox One generation. Sold even less consoles. They implemented a service that now is not sustainable, Game Pass, because they're giving away big games for a cheap price. You know, they expected to have, I think, what was it? By 2027, 100 million people. They're still stuck at 30 something million. Have you noticed still no new word, no new update? No actual talk of them being at 50 million, 60 million. No, they're still stuck at 30 million. So they're stuck at that number. Even worse, software sales. Their first party software is selling like trash. Hardly any third party sales. Because again, hardly anyone bought the console. And then the few people who did, right? 30 million about. Half of them is Series S owner and they're just playing Game Pass. So it's just an even worse gen ever. And then they sink themselves even further by obligating $80 billion that they're now having trouble trying to make back. So things were already bad. They sunk themselves even further with an $80 billion purchase between Bethesda and ABK and all that nonsense. And they are still losing money on the console. So what does all that mean? They can't do that again. They're not going to start the next generation making consoles that they sell at a loss. They are not going to make hardware that they sell out of loss. They are done with that. They are absolutely done with that. That's a strategy they had to talk about, and I guarantee they made that decision a long time ago. So they are not going to go back to making hardware that they lose money on. So how do they figure out? How do they resolve that? What's the strategy on hardware where you don't lose money? Well, the answer is PC. And going with the OS that's the most dominant OS in the world and the most dominant OS in gaming. Windows 11, Windows 11, eventually 12, 13, blah, 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 all that stuff. But Windows OS, right? Now, talking with Xbox fanboys, they want to bring up Xbox always Windows. Come on, stop being stupid. I'm so tired of dealing with people who are stupid. We're talking about full Windows OS, not the kernel, not the stripped down version that's used for Xbox, all out Windows. What's in my PC right now. What's on my PC right now, what's on your PC right now is not what's on Xbox console. They never use that. That is what they're using. But they have a problem. How do you get the few console gamers that stuck by you to adopt PC? Well, you got to make it about them. Okay. You make it about them. So how you do that? Well, you bring Xbox mode. The PC. Let's talk about this. Here, let me share my screen real quick. Let me see if I can. Right there we go. Let me see so that way you guys can see it. It says right here, GDC 2026 announcing new tools and platform updates for Windows PC game developers. Our focus is clear: making Windows 11 the best place for game developers to create, experiment, ship, and scale. Windows is an open, flexible platform that supports choice across engines, tools, hardware, and distribution models. This commitment is rooted in close collaboration across our ecosystem, including partners like AMD, Intel, NVIDIA, and Qualcomm, and strengthening our deep partnership with Xbox, driving innovation to shape the future gaming with the development community. This year at GDC, we're introducing new Windows 11 platform updates and tools designed to deliver faster load times, smoother gameplay, and a strong foundation for Windows ML enhanced graphics. What's new at GDC? Beginning in April, Xbox Mode will be generally available on all Windows 11 PC form factors, rolling out to users in select markets. Faster load times and streaming performances enabled with advanced shader delivery available to more games, including new self-enablement and Z standard support and direct storage coming soon. Improved developer experience with DirectX dump files and additional PIX improvements, including Shader Explorer and more. Newly in algebra capabilities to accelerate inference in shaders with a preview of WinML models and graphics workloads coming soon. Let's talk about the Xbox Mode, though. It says right here, Xbox Mode available on all Windows 11 form factor in April. Starting in April, Xbox Mode will start rolling out to users in select markets on all Windows 11 PC form factors, including laptops, desktops, and tablets, bringing the experience to a broader set of devices. Xbox Mode makes it easier for players to jump into a streamlined full-screen dedicated gaming experience whenever they want to lean back and play. Xbox Mode delivers a controller-optimized experience to your Windows 11 device. Let me repeat that for the people in the back. Let me repeat that for the Xbox fanboys who ride the short bus. Xbox Mode delivers a controller-optimized experience to your Windows 11 device, letting players browse their library, launch games, use Game Bar, and switch between apps. Designed to keep players immersed, the experience features a clean, distraction-free interface while still giving them flexibility to seamlessly switch back to Windows desktop at any time. Xbox Mode, which was first introduced on the PC handhelds, specifically it's ROG Ally, and then all the other handhelds, now it's on PC laptops and tablets. So that's the first thing, the interface. And they're already testing it out. They'll probably make more improvements as time goes on. Obviously, when Xbox Mode now is out on the general audience, well, general PC audience, they'll get, I don't know, surveys, give advice, they'll reach out, all this stuff. But here's a thing though. How does the console gamers feel about this? Because the Xbox Mode is being reached out to PC gamers. The PC gamers are already there, right? This Xbox Mode is supposed to entice console gamers to go to PC. But they're not the ones testing this, unless you're one of the console gamers that also game on PC. But if you're a console gamer that games on PC, then you already accepted PC. Because remember, you already been playing on PC without the Xbox Mode, so you already made the decision to play on PC. This is really about the console gamer that's not on PC. But I digress. A conversation for another day. But you can see that's one hurdle right there. The UI interface is an important strategy to try to convince console gamers to play on PC by making it seem like you're in a console environment. That's what this Xbox Mode does. It gives the appearance, right? The functionality and use as if you're on a console. Now, how well it does it, that begs the question. I don't use it, so I can't tell you if it does a good job or not. Maybe some of you in the chat have used it, specifically on the handhelds. But more and more gamers are going to have access to this in April. So we'll get to see more opinions on how well this Xbox Mode really replicates, how well it does give that console feel in a PC environment. But that's Microsoft's first step that they had to do to get console gamers to adopt PC. So you got that. You got the Xbox Mode. So what's the second issue they had to overcome? Well, it's the Xbox library. They want their Xbox games with them. And to them, that's part of buying a console. When you buy the next console, you have your whole entire library with you. So all those backwards compatible games, all the games that work on Series X across the board, from the Series X games all the way down to the OG Xbox games, all of that needs to work on the next Xbox. Well, Microsoft figured it out, and they're doing it, and they're allowing their Windows 11 PC to play Xbox games. Now, Xbox gamers, Microsoft enthusiasts, they're saying no, it's a console that can play PC games. They're trying to go in the other direction. They're trying to say, oh, it's not a PC that can play console games, it's a console that can play PC games. You're wrong. Because it all starts with Windows 11. Windows 11 is what's being updated. Windows 11 is what's receiving the capability to play Xbox games. Now, the actual technical advancements of how they do it, sure, there's a lot of articles, and you could talk all that science fiction talk if you're into techie and you want the details. But the end state is Windows 11 having the capability to play Xbox games. And Microsoft apparently figured that out. Now, how well they figured out, there could be some games that may not be compatible, right? Because this is a huge library, right? So doing the best they can. But I would say generally, maybe the majority of the games, at a minimum, let's say 80% of the games, which is a good number, given the size of the library that's backwards compatible, will work on the platform. And then they just keep working to improve it and get it better and better. So the Xbox gamers having their Xbox library go with them, That problem solved. The final problem that they had to make sure is that they don't arbitrarily cut Xbox Series platform lifespan unintentionally. By the release of the Helix, what they don't want is now the industry just moves on from Series X, thus screwing over Series X and Series S owners. Even though there's only around 30 million, you don't want 2027 to be the year. Now, the reason why I say 2027 is because Microsoft announced that development kits won't be out till early 2027. So the earliest you're going to see Helix is late 2027, November timeframe. Maybe 2028, but that's the earliest. But 2027, late 2027 is the earliest you're going to see the platform, right? When the platform releases, Microsoft doesn't want Xbox Series X support to just be cut off for the users that are still on it. Because it's not like every user is going to jump on Helix. Remember, half the series audience is the Series S. They only pay $300 or less. They're not going to jump and pay the price needed to get a Helix. And we'll talk a little bit more on that. So Microsoft, three things that they had to do. Right? Number one, come up with user interface that console gamers can recognize and enjoy instead of the Windows interface. So they got that with Xbox Mode. Number two, get the library on PC because that's the next thing they need. So they did that, or they're going to do that. And then number three, don't cut off the series life support simply because the Helix launched. Keep it going and let developers decide. Right? There's information out there showing how you can easily make PC and still make console games. And when they say console games, I'm guessing they're talking about the series one. The series specifically, Series X and Series S. You can still make games for those platforms. You don't have to cut them off. Right? So they solved those three things. And they did it. Right? A lot of Xbox gamers, influencers, they don't want to admit that it's a PC. They want to still stick with the console. And this is why the original title was The Evolution of Me Arguing with these fanboys or with this Xbox community, because they always do this. They don't look at Microsoft's dilemma, what they're going through, and then realizing, all right, Microsoft's going through this issue. How does Microsoft get out of this issue? What's the strategy for gaming? And then that should help guide them into making a better prediction or understanding what's happened. They never do that. They never do any of that. They don't discuss. They have terrible discussions, and that's why they're so far off. When you try to tell them the Series X is not going to blow out PS5 in graphics, whatever, they come up with bullshit. They made up lies about it, and in the end, they look stupid. Then, the whole ABK, whatever, we're telling them, hey, your console's not selling well. Xbox games is going to PC and PlayStation. It's going to happen. Look at this. Look at, statements from Phil Spencer. Look at statements from Tim Stewart. Look at the reality. No, they ignore all that bullshit. And then they tell us we're wrong. And then what happened? PlayStation, Xbox games on PlayStation. And then once again, we tell them this whole campaign, this is an Xbox, is stupid. This is not an Xbox. It's a done campaign. Once again, they capped. And if you cap with this in Xbox, I am talking about you. I am talking about you. A lot of you cap for that, even though we were telling you it's stupid. You're hurting the console. You're hurting the brand. This is an Xbox. It's a stupid concept. PC is not an Xbox. Lenovo's not an Xbox. That's just a stupid damn advertisement. And guess what? If now everybody realizes it is, Microsoft shutting it down. They're not using it. And now we're getting word that even people on Xbox said, yeah, that was stupid. You see, us telling you about power, sales, games going on PlayStation, the campaign. We telling you Xbox community how it is. You fight against us only for in the end you take an L. Maybe you want to learn not what we're trying to tell you this time. But if you want to take the L, then you go ahead. I mean, you're used to it anyway. You guys pretty much already classified as the dumbest gamers, most uninformed gamers in the community. So you already have that tag. Why get better? Why be better? Boy, be better. Why? Why get good? Just stay dumb. Right? But for the rest of us, we can have real conversations. We don't have to hold ourselves back like a lot of these Xbox gamers. There's just no point. Let's go ahead and have real good conversations. So what real good conversation we have? Well, let's address. This is a PC, right? Windows 11. It's gonna have capability to play Xbox console games. And we already seen Microsoft launching Xbox mode across all PC devices. So the real conversation we need to have, which you're probably not going to see in the Xbox community because they're going to spend most of their time arguing that it's a console, not a PC. But since we're better than that and we can have real conversations, the real conversation is the capability to play Xbox console games, will it be only or exclusive to just AMD hardware? Because remember, they're saying they're working with AMD to get this done. Because I know what people are thinking, that this is just going to be something Helix does, meaning the Microsoft branded PC. It's not. I'm going to tell you that much. It's not. Because when AMD, who's sharing in this technology, because remember, this is a partnership between the two. You don't think this technology is going to be in their video cards and CPU that they sell directly to PC gamers? That technology Microsoft is working in concert with AMD. AMD is going to use it for their cards. This is a great time to show this. Because this was just good timing. This was just absolutely good timing. It was good timing. Paris is also trying to damage control the whole PC console. A lot of people are. Here it is. Boom. Here it is. Now let me show y'all. It says right here. Paris comes out and says, to the folks stressed over Project Helix being a console or a PC, ask yourself this question. Can you walk into Best Buy and build your own Project Helix? And I'm going to say, yes, you will. You will. Because the technology that Microsoft using in concert with AMD is going to be used by AMD. Because Lisa Su already said it, that the technology building is going to be used across all devices, all across PCs and tablets. Lisa Su said it. That is going to be used all across the stuff, all across all hardware. So this technology, from a physical perspective, that allows PC to play Xbox console games, which means you could be able to access the whole library, is going to be technology that's in future AMD cards and the CPUs. Therefore, you'll be able to walk into Best Buy or wherever you get your components and have hardware to build your own Helix in your own way. And by build your own Helix, it just pretty much means you'll be able to build your own PC that can play Xbox console games. So yes, Paris, yes, you'll be able to do it. You'll be able to do everything Helix does. Maybe even better. Because like I said, with AMD, you'll have more choices of video cards. Now, to be fair, Microsoft might do the same thing. And what I mean by same thing, everybody's assuming it's just one device. It doesn't have to be one device anymore. Because again, it's not really a console. So you're not really creating a console with one spec configuration. So that way you can optimize all the games for this one spec, the console model. No, it's a PC. So Microsoft could release 2, 3, or 4 different SKUs of Project Helix. So that way it could hit different price points and different ranges and get different capabilities. So you can have a lower end, Helix at $1,000, decent hardware, maybe not. Who knows what kind of hardware you'll get at $1,000, especially in 2027 when memory is really going to be a pain in the ass to get. So who knows what type of minimum hardware you get. But let's say minimum hardware, minimum spec type Helix is around 1200. And then you start raising the price for more premium Helix. Like if you want the 5090 level Helix that people are hyping, you're not going to get it at $1,000 or $1,200. You're gonna those things are going to be like $2,500, $3,000 machines. And Microsoft will have no problem selling it because it's a premium PC machine, just like every other PC. So you can have multiple schools. But with that, AMD with the technology will have access to that technology. So you could buy the video cards. You could buy the AMD products you need to do everything yourself. But this leads to the bigger question. Will Microsoft fragment the PC community like that? Will Microsoft have a community of AMD gamers have access to the Xbox console library of games, but not the gamers on NVIDIA? I don't think Microsoft is going to do that. I don't think Microsoft is going to ass out NVIDIA gamers. I don't think so. I think Microsoft is still also figuring out a way to provide the support on NVIDIA PC builds. So that way, gamers who game on NVIDIA, which I think is the bigger population, correct me if I'm wrong, chat. Are there more PC builds with NVIDIA hardware than AMD hardware? Please correct me or let me know. But I don't think Microsoft is going to have technology in PC gaming, but only certain PCs can do it. Now, I understand from a technological standpoint, because this is the second question, can this technology be applied, or not even technology, wrong phrase, not the technology, but the result. Can you get PC platforms, people who have gaming PCs, to be updated and also play Xbox games? And if so, which platforms? Is it the new AMD? What is it, the 9700, the 9000 series? Like, do you need a 9000 XT whatever AMD card? And then for the NVIDIA side, minimum is the 4000 series, like 3000 series and older. Can I get it? Like, where does it end? Is there can the current community of PC gamers also get this? They get in Xbox mode, but can they also get the ability to play Xbox console games with an update to their Windows OS? Or is this strictly, you got to get new hardware? You got to get the new AMD GPUs. And if Microsoft found a way to do it for NVIDIA, you got to get a 5000 series GPU, let's say. Who knows how they do it? That's the conversation Xbox gamers need to have. PC gamers need to have. Don't have the conversation that, it's a console. Stop it. You're taking an L. It's a PC. It's a Windows 11 PC. Sure, they're making it console-like with the UI Xbox mode. Like, listen, when you get Xbox mode in April, is your PC no longer a PC? So let's say right now I have this gaming laptop. I downloaded the update because I got it. I got a gaming laptop. I don't play it as a gaming laptop, but I got a Nitro 5. If I download the update, and from this point on, the moment the update comes, I boot it into Xbox mode. Now I got Xbox mode all the time. Now all of a sudden my gaming laptop's not a laptop, it's a console because I boot into a UI. No, it's still a laptop. It's still a PC. Booting into UI doesn't change that. So stop having an argument. Stop taking L's. You don't need to take L's no more. What you need to do, have real conversations. Be smart. You know it's a PC, so ask the tough questions. Ask yourselves, is this capability going to be available to current PC owners, even if it's just the high-end orders, like 40, 70, 40, 80, 40, 90, and above, 70, 80, or even 80, 90. Let's say that. You got to have a 40, 80 or 50, 80. You got to have a 40, 90 or 50, 90. Let's just say that at least. Are they going to have the capability to do it? Can this be applied to the current PC gamers that are out there? Can this technology be applied? Is this capability exclusive to just AMD gamers? Meaning NVIDIA, you're screwed over. You're not going to be able to play Xbox console games because the capability to do it is technology exclusive to AMD via partnership with Microsoft. I don't think Microsoft would do that. I don't think Microsoft would split the PC fan base like that. where in order to have the full capability, you have a Windows device, you have to buy AMD hardware to do it. I don't think Microsoft will do that. But Xbox gamers need to have those conversations. Tom Henderson or Tom Warren, you need to start talking to Microsoft like that. Stop trying to fight the definition that, oh, this is still a console. That's over with. Move on from it. Ask the real questions. This is PC. How spread out in the PC gaming sector is this going to be available to? Who's going to have it? Do you have to buy AMD hardware? If it is it just the GPU, or is it the GPU and the CPU, like a current AMD owners? Let's say it is exclusive to AMD technology, and you have AMD PC. Does that mean you have to upgrade your CPU and AMD GPU so you can now have the full console library of Xbox? These are the questions that should be asked. And what about you NVIDIA gamers? Let's say if you NVIDIA gamers that are Intel NVIDIA, right now you have a PC. And in order for you to have this upgrade on your PC, you have to buy an AMD CPU and AMD GPU. Are you going to do it? Or are you going to buy a Helix? Like, what's going to be a decision? Buy a Helix or upgrade to hardware, specifically AMD? You see what I'm saying? These are the good questions to ask. These are the good questions to ask. But no one's asking these questions. These questions are not being brought up. And it's not being brought up because they want to argue fanboy shit. They want to keep arguing. They want to keep arguing with PlayStation gamers, and they keep losing. Let me show you something. This was one of the conversations out at GDC, but I have not seen no articles about it, which is interesting. This just tells me the Xbox community on Twitter, at least, is hiding from it. But they had a session where it says DirectX bringing console level GPU tools to Windows. This further pushes the point. This was on Thursday, 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. This is about. Let's see what it says. Join the DirectX team and our GPU hardware partners as we announce new cutting-edge tooling features in DirectX, Pix and more, all with the goal of helping you make great, reliable, performing DirectX games on Windows. The talk will introduce major new DirectX features to help you with the biggest pain points of PC graphics development today. We'll give you unprecedented insight into the ambitious GPU tooling work that is happening across the industry, both today and in the future. We will show you the biggest wave of new features to come to Pix on Windows in its 10-year history, and our hardware partners will join us to showcase our joint collaborations to DirectX to Pix and to the wide range of other GPU tools available. Takeaway: attendees will learn about a wide range of GPU tooling features that will have been building with our hardware partners. They will learn how to use these tools to create them. Where's all the talk about that? Nope, you're not going to see that. Those are the real conversations we should be seeing. Because to me, that's genuine. We know this is PC. We know Microsoft's trying to entice console gamers, Xbox mode and all that stuff. They're going to bring the library of Xbox console games to PC. So we got to ask the real questions. Do you need AMD hardware? Can the current AMD customers have it? How does the NVIDIA PC gamers fit into all this? Got some super chats. We got Glassdoor Gamer. P-Rock. Microsoft is going to try to challenge Steam, and in the process, they are going to hurt PC gaming. Again, like in the 2000s, and I'm here for it. I hear that, but I'll be honest. I'm having trouble visualizing trying to challenge Steam. And the reason why I'm having trouble visualizing that is because they're putting their games on Steam. So how can you challenge something when you provide the games to that something? I think this is more about just getting out of the console strategy, because that is what's really hurting them, because they're losing a lot of money. Windows is fine. Let's all be honest. Windows is the most dominant OS. It is, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So making the OS more capable, now having console games so they could just move on from that strategy, that's really it. But the question is, How does this involve with the rest of PC communities? How does NVIDIA gamers play into it? How does the current PC gamers play into this? How does it all fit in the equation? That's the good conversations that should be spoken about, but Xbox community PC gamers ain't having that. Just Prince TV, shout out to you. It's been a minute. He says caramel and choco Twix candy bar. Sarah B in India. Do they have that? A caramel and choco Twix candy bar? That sounds good. Glassdoor Gamer, thank you for the super chat. Watch the video I tagged you in. On Twitter? On Twitter? Mentions. What we got? I see a lot of things on. Let's see, what is this? Co-pilot gaming. Oh boy. Can you send it to me in a DM? Because my thing is absolutely flooded. If you sent it to, oh yeah, you did send it to me in DM. It says right here. Okay, let me see. All right, let me. It's Moore's law is dead. All right, let's hear this. Let me put it on the screen. We'll put it on the screen. Let's see what you sent me. It's 5 minutes, but let's hear it out. All right, let me go. Thank you, Glassdoor Gamer. Let's see what this says.
So first of all, I believe that they are hoping that this pathway here that you're seeing is so easy to do that many devs will skip putting their game on Steam and just develop it for Helix and the Windows Store through GDK. Literally, they gave a presser on how to port PC games to Xbox Helix in a day. I think they're heavily signaling that their way is easier, and they're just kind of hoping some games aren't on Steam because of it. Second, Xbox is trying to make it easy for devs to get their game cloud streaming compliant. That's another revenue stream they can use to entice devs to ignore Steam. In fact, they're even giving PlayFab for free, a huge financial incentive, at least according to some devs. Some devs says it wouldn't be enough to skip Steam. Another dev said, actually, that's huge, and they would consider it.
So let me stop right there real quick. So that's where I can't visualize it, Glassdoor Gamer. When he's saying that they're hoping that some devs will skip Steam, I can't visualize. I understand. I'm not saying I don't understand what you're saying. I verbally understand what you're saying. I just can't visualize it because you're asking third-party devs not to put games on Steam, but you yourself are putting games on Steam. That doesn't make sense. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. So you're going to put your own games that you make on Steam, and while you're putting your own games on Steam so you can make money off Steam, you expect third-party developers to not put their games on Steam so they can make money on Steam. That doesn't make sense. Unless Microsoft pulls their games off Steam, there's no way they can reasonably expect developers not to make games on Steam. That doesn't really make sense as a strategy. I know if I work for Microsoft, I'll be confused as hell. I'll be like, wait a minute, we're trying to create an environment where developers just focus on our Windows Store, right? Because it's so easy to make games. But we ourselves ain't even focusing on our own Windows Store with our own games. So on our own games, we're not focusing on our own store, but we expect third party to. You see what I'm saying? That's why I'm having trouble trying to visualize that. Microsoft trying to, I understand what to me this is, and this is what I said earlier, and I said this perfectly earlier. What this is in the screen we're seeing right now is what I talk about, and I'm gonna put it up. What this was the third problem I said Microsoft solved, which was they don't want to kill off arbitrarily or accidentally kill off Xbox Series support when Helix launches. They don't want to cut it off the legs Sure, it's only 30 million consoles, maybe 32 million by when it's all said and done, but that's still 32 million they don't want to completely drop. They don't want that whole audience to just lose support from third party. So what this actually does is it makes it really, really, really easy, right? If you make a PC version of the game, and we asked this questions. Well, if this is a PC and you're making the PC version of the game, why would you even bother making a console version? We asked this. We said this. There's the answer. Microsoft also realized, like, we can actually say the thing that we thought about and said, if this is a PC and everybody has it, then why would you make a console version of the game? We said this. Microsoft thought that too. They thought to themselves, when we go PC, third party's just going to drop consoles. So how can we ensure they don't drop consoles? Well, it's simple. Create something when they make the PC version, you can port it to Xbox Series X and S in a day. If you can port the game in 1 day, then yeah, they'll do it. Doesn't take months, doesn't take a lot of money. If they really made it to where you can port the game to Series X and S in 1 day, developers will still do it. So the developers will still support Series X, Series S until the planned shutdown actually happens, and not the arbitrary shutdown of 2027 simply because new hardware came out. That's the reason why this is there. But I don't think it's there as part of a strategy to take away games from Steam, because you gotta first start out with your own stuff. You gotta do your own games first. If you're gonna talk about coming up with a strategy where you're trying to take away mind share from Steam, you gotta start with your own games. That's the first step. It makes no sense to try to fight Steam while at the same time giving them ammunition. That's like me getting into a gunfight and I'm providing the gun to the enemy and the bullets. What are we talking about here? You see what I'm saying? That's why I don't know. Maybe Microsoft might go full. I don't think they're going full exclusive. But you see, so that's what I'm saying. It's hard for me to visualize that strategy when they're still supporting Steam. So now let's go back to here. I think we were here.
Streaming compliant. That's another revenue stream they can use to entice devs to ignore Steam. In fact, they're even giving PlayFab for free, a huge financial incentive, at least according to some devs. Some devs says it wouldn't be enough to skip Steam. Another dev said, actually, that's huge, and they would consider it. And now, thirdly, are we sure Steam is supported on Xbox Helix? Because I had multiple chatbots looked, I scoured the web, and contributors Moore's Law is Dead, Kari no Sugata, and Carbon Cry, they looked. No one could find explicit statements that Steam will be supported on Xbox Helix. That continues to just be something some journalists are doing on their own to get clicks for their titles and have you read their article. But Xbox has not said Steam will be supported on Helix. And again, it might be supported, but hear me out, all right? Would it really surprise anybody if there's some scheme going on behind the scenes whereby Microsoft creates some sort of Helix-approved unified storefront whereby they share some of the profit-taking with publishers that are on board? Like, if you're somebody like Ubisoft that wishes you would buy games from them directly, or EA who wishes you would buy games from them directly instead of buying them from Steam because Steam takes a 30% cut from every sale of Battlefield 6 on that platform, well, maybe Microsoft would say, hey, if you're willing to just take a 10 or 15% cut and then let us take a 10 or 15% cut, let us share the profits, we will let you be whitelisted for the Xbox Helix store. And that's important because we will be aggressively spamming people in the background of their operating system when they're in console mode with games that are only whitelisted on the Xbox store. And that way you'll get more exposure, and in exchange, share some of the profits with us. And then they do that, and what do? They do not put Steam as a whitelisted partner. And then therefore, they are still taking it.
All right, there's a problem with that. See, this is let's go back to what I say. None of this makes sense. How many users are on Steam? So Ubisoft is gonna move away from Steam, selling their games on Steam, which has like how many users is on? How many people have access to Steam? Let me look this up. What are we talking about here? How many active users? How many active users are on Steam? Hold on. They're saying monthly 132 million MAUs per month. So you're telling me third-party developers going to drop 132 million users like this for a device that's not even out yet? We really think Helix is going to sell 200 million users? 200 million people is going to buy users. 200 million people are going to buy this thing to drop Steam. There's nobody there. There's no users there to pull this clout. There's no users there. There's nobody there. We really think Helix is going to launch and start selling 30, 40 million units a year or something? There's no users there. That's why I'm saying I don't understand this conversation. This conversation don't make sense. There's too many users on Steam right now for any developer to say, especially major developers, to say we're not going to make games for Steam. That's literally PC. Steam is PC in terms of market. And I will tell you, most PC gamers are not going to get a Helix. So most PC gamers are not going to get a Helix. They're going to stay on Steam. So what developer is really going to choose to not put their games on Steam? Even if Microsoft offers, hold up, we already seen this strategy. Didn't Epic do that already? Didn't Epic say we have a lower, cost? It's like 15%. Epic says they only take 15% for developers, not the full third like Steam. And that still didn't stop developers from putting games on Steam, even with the 30% cut. Because they saw the sales of where the PC gamers are mostly buying the games. Sure, you get a bigger cut on the Epic Game Store, but you don't get a lot of sales. A lot of PC gamers boycotted the Epic Game Store. You see what I'm saying? So this is just another thing that's like, this doesn't really make sense, the conversation that Microsoft's still making games for Steam. Steam is the most popular storefront in the world. It has a huge ton of users. Who's willing to not put their game on literally the main storefront that sells games for PC? We got C-Pix. Thank you for the super chat. Says Helix is an off-ramp to PC gaming by pricing out the average consumer while getting the enthusiasts used to paying $1K for hardware. I think the enthusiasts are sticking to regular PC. Unless this Helix is doing something incredibly different that we still haven't seen or whatever. Glassdoor Gamer, thank you for the super chat. He says, I think Helix will move Xbox, but it's about the Windows Store. They tried this and Valve started working on Linux. Well, I know Valve hates Windows, period. But the thing is, Microsoft is putting their games on Steam. Steam is the biggest storefront in PC gaming. There's really nothing Windows can do. I would say it's even harder for Microsoft to fight Steam than it is to fight PlayStation, because at least with PlayStation has to constantly reestablish its audience every generation. Steam doesn't. They just are locked in with over 130 million, 140 million, whatever the number was. They're already locked in. That number never changes. It never goes away. And it probably is even bigger as you include more countries. I mean, Capcom even talked about it, whatever. So I don't think this has anything to do with fighting with Steam, per se. At least now, the way things are. Now, if we see Microsoft no longer selling the games on the Steam store and it's exclusive to their store, the Windows Store, because it's redesigned and PlayFab and all this other stuff, okay, now we're seeing signs that they're ready to compete with Steam. You got to start with exclusives. You got to start with your exclusives. Right? So at least then we can start seeing, okay, Microsoft pulled their games out of Steam. So now you can only get Microsoft games, Xbox, and whatever in the Windows Store. Now they're being serious. That's the first thing. Now, the second thing is, how will the PC community react to that? They're very loyal to Steam. They're very loyal to Valve. That's going to be a good challenge, right? That would be something else. That would be something.
To Steam and in direct competition with Steam OS. And they would argue, well, if we have Epic and like Ubisoft and EA, you know, that's going to get us to like 95, 99% of PC games anyways. And well, maybe this will make it worth it. Now, is a 10 or 15% cut less than they would be making if they sold the game on Xbox Series X or S right now? Sure. But no one wants to buy or play on Xbox Series consoles anymore. And taking a 15% cut from a greater ecosystem that can market that you can play most PC games is really a Hail Mary play that will probably work out better than trying to get people to come back to the Xbox Series consoles, because they're never going to. And okay, so one more time, let me make it very clear. I am not saying that I am sure Steam won't be on Xbox Helix, but I will say that anyone in gaming that calls themselves a journalist, any interview you have with Asha Sharma or anyone at Xbox, frickin' ask them, can you confirm Steam is going to run on Xbox Helix? Make them say it does. Because when I look at things behind the scenes here, it, you know, the removal of this as an Xbox and the removal of some other things, it seems like this might.
To be honest, you don't even have to ask them that, because I don't think they're going to directly answer it. But I think you could get them to answer it by asking a different question. You don't have to ask them if Steam's going to be on that. You just have to ask them, hey, what's the operating system on the Helix? Just operate. Is it Windows? Is it the Windows that we get on PC, on laptops, you know, on Microsoft Surface, you know, on Surface tablets? Is it Windows 11? Is it Windows 11 PC? Now, if they go, oh, yeah, it's Windows 11, but of course we're upgrading it, we're adding more features, but yes, it's Windows 11. It's Windows 11 that you have now on your PC. You get them to answer that question, then yes, Helix will have Steam, because it's Windows 11. Can you install Steam on Windows 11? Yes or no? Yes, then there you go. That's the real question you need to ask. So you don't have to ask them, can you play Steam on Helix? You just got to get a different question that leads to the same answer. Hey, the OS, the operating system, is it a Xbox console operating system Series X, or is it Windows 11 PC? You know, what's on PC right now, and you guys are modifying it, doing what you got to do to get Xbox games to work. What is it? What is the OS? What OS are we dealing with here? Did you get a new OS? Is it a whole new type of OS? You know, what is it? Chances are it's Windows 11. And if you get them to answer, be like, oh, it's Windows 11 OS, but we upgraded it to do this and whatever, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it's Windows 11, like what I have on my PC right now. Yes, it's Windows 11. There you go. If they say that, if you get them to talk and say that, now you know you can get Steam, Epic Game Store, GOG, pirating. It's Windows 11, so you get to pirate games. I'm not saying that you should. I'm not advocating for it, but I'm just telling you the reality. You're pirating games now, stuff like that. You could do all that now. All that's in play now. It's Windows 11. So I think, you know, you ask the right questions. I think they'll be quick to answer it and then not realize, like, shit, we just told them the secret. Shout out to Major Claridge. Thank you so much for providing another member in the chat with a gift membership. If you received a gift membership, please give your thanks to Major Claridge. Thank you so much. And then a $2 super chat just for the love of the channel. Man, I really appreciate it, guys, man. If you're enjoying the show, please hit the like button. And if you're new and you just joined us, this is your first time on the channel, I hope you get to stick around. I hope you're enjoying it. And subscribe. And rock out with us on Tuesdays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 60 Frames No Like podcast. Really appreciate it. And don't forget to hit the like button. Let's continue with Moore's Law is Dead. If you guys have other videos like this, please send it to me in the DM. I'll do a little live reaction right now. But let's see. Let's finish off.
It'd still be a console that tries to pull a fast one on people by not letting you use Steam and take it to Valve. And by the way, even if Steam is allowed on Xbox Helix, everything I just said about their strategy to try to make money despite allowing a competitor on their platform, none of my argument changes. It's still clear Xbox is behind the scenes going to do a bunch of things to try to get developers to not put their games on Steam, and then probably work with special partners to be more front and center on the Xbox store that will boot up and be in your face when you turn on an Xbox Helix. And so they would still probably maybe let you run Steam on it, but it's in the background and there's all these incentives to try to get you to not click on it. And again, that's not an ideal situation. That's a situation Sony would never go along with. But things are not ideal for Xbox, and getting a smaller cut of a big pie is better than trying to make, well, the Xbox Series pie work at all anymore. And so there you go. That is what I think is going on with Xbox Helix. Easier to port, exchanging exposure for licensing discounts, and trying to get devs to prefer the Xbox GDK over Steam's so that you get access to extra cloud revenue if you're a developer. I don't know if this will work for Microsoft, but I do believe that is how Xbox plans to make up for lost revenue by allowing some degree of competitors' storefronts operate on Helix. And I gotta say, this is a real threat to Steam. And I talked to some developers about everything they're doing to make it easier to port games to PC and Helix right now, and like all these talks they're having. And they seem much more confident that this is a bigger threat to Steam now than it ever was when they did like games for Windows Live. Like, Microsoft is taking the threat of SteamOS very seriously. This is going to be some brutal competition, I actually think, possibly here between Xbox Helix and the Steam machine, SteamOS, and Steam products.
So
first of all, I believe that they are hoping
I think this is where Moore's law, because I understand where he's coming from, but he's looking at the wrong audience. He's looking at this from the developer's perspective, right? Microsoft really made it easy for developers, and they're gonna jump ship. Developers don't get to dictate. Who do you think has the true power? Let me ask you this: Who has the true power in this conversation? The future of Steam and Xbox and all this stuff in the PC space. Who's the one with the real power? Can anybody guess? Who's the true power that's going to decide all this? Carl G said me. You're right. If you play on PC, you are exactly right. It's the PC gamers. That's not studio management. PC gamers. It's all about the money. It's about the money. You could say, every studio could be like, oh yeah, we're doing it. We're just gonna port everything. We're gonna do everything through the Microsoft store, through the Helix store, and we're not gonna put it on Steam. Good luck with that when your games don't sell. When your sales tank and your studio's shutting down, guess what you're gonna go back to doing? You're gonna go right back to Steam. Shout out to SPX, the customers. If the PC gamer said, put this shit on Steam or fuck off, you're fucked. Who you gonna sell to? It's not about the developers exclusive now. Like, good on Microsoft to try to make things easier for them. Good on them. But at the end of the day, developers got to pay the rent. The GDK is not going to pay the bills. Project Helix is not going to pay the mortgage. Game sales do all that. And if Steam is the storefront that primarily gets your games sold, if that is the storefront where PC gamers primarily buy their games, there is nothing you can do. You can make the thing as easy as you want. It doesn't matter if your game doesn't sell. It doesn't matter. Developers, and sure as hell the publishers, is not going to choose easy development over sales. They will take harder development and sell 10 million copies than easy development and sell 500,000 copies. You got to sell the game. And PC gamers already established Steam is their storefront. That battle's already done. Steam is their storefront. Unless somehow Microsoft can miraculously make their storefront and everything they do so much better than Steam, that's the only way. Like where now you have the Steam gamers arbitrarily leave the Steam storefront and jump on the Helix or Microsoft storefront, all that, but that's not going to happen. Like literally, the Steam storefront is like the best storefront that PC gamers are touting. The most consumer friendly, free online, amazing refund. Which I give them that. The refund is insane. The refund policy is insane, and that's I wish Sony was even half as good. Right? Sony's refund policy sucks, but Steam has incredible refund policies. They're just an incredible store for PC gamers. There's just no beating that. PC gamers aren't need that. And then you already established the biggest library, all the games the Steam gamers already had by the thousands. You expect them to lose all that or leave all that and then build a new library somewhere else? They're not doing that. You're not taking the Steam gamers away. They're not taking games away. That's not gonna happen. You might as well just give up that fight, right? You can't even beat PlayStation. You're gonna beat Steam that's already consistently established. Nah, you're not gonna do that. They cut that out. That's not gonna happen. That's just not gonna happen. You know? Let me see something else here. Let's see. What am I looking at? I mean, okay, this just popped up. Well, not popped up, but I'm seeing it now. Pretty much what I've been saying. Nate the Hate confirms that Xbox compatibility and preservation team is working to make your digital library of original Xbox and Xbox 360 games playable on PC. But again, the real question is which PCs, which PC community? The current one, are they going to be part of this? Or do you have to buy AMD hardware to be part of this? Right? Because looking at this, I think I got this. Let me put this up. Let me put this up so you guys can see. Says here, and I'll move it up even closer from Jack. I can't pronounce his last name, so I pronounce it. Says big moment for the future of gaming. Thrilled to partner with Xbox and Asher Shah on Project Helix, a multi-year deep co-engineering partnership driven next-gen performance, breakthrough graphics, compatibility with your existing Xbox game library. Powering the experience, super excited to unveil AMD FSR Diamond, designed to be natively optimized for Project Helix and deeply integrated into the GDK. Built for next-gen neural rendering, next-gen ML-based upscaling, new ML-based multi-frame generation, next-gen ray regeneration for ray tracing and path tracing. Thank you, Microsoft and Xbox team, for an epic engineering collaboration. 20 plus years of innovation. We're pushing it further than ever. FSR Diamond opens up a new dimension of innovation. More to come. Right? So again, this goes back to like, is this thing exclusively to AMD? Is it exclusive to only new AMD hardware? What about the current AMD fan base? Do they have to now upgrade to new AMD components to get this capability? And then what happens to NVIDIA fan base? Did Microsoft purposely split now the fan base between AMD and NVIDIA? So if you're on AMD hardware or you bought the Helix, you get backwards compatibility. You get access to Xbox 360, OG Xbox, Xbox One games, Xbox Series X games. But if you're on NVIDIA hardware, it doesn't matter which hardware you got, you don't get access to any of this because it's part of the hardware that's part of the requirement. These are the questions that should be asked. These are good questions to ask. But you're not going to see this from the Xbox community. You're not going to see that. That's the reality. Let's see what we got else. Let's see. Let's see what else. Like my background and thing, yeah. Shout out to SPR. SPR is the truest, right? Let's see. Copilot. I think you guys already seen that. Have you seen that? I think we all knew that. We all knew that. I mean, you see it in the shirt right now. Copilot. We knew that was coming. We knew Copilot was coming to Xbox. AI is going to be integrated in everything Microsoft. If they shoved Copilot into Microsoft Office, which has like 200 million users or whatever, then you know damn well they're going to shove it into gaming. Everything will have AI. Copilot will be in everything. So Copilot's all up into Xbox. So that's something we already knew. That was something that was already coming. Not a surprise, not a shocker. Shout out to Glassdoor Gamer. Thank you for the super chat. Says I want to see Xbox and mid and that's it. I want to see Xbox and PC guys war. Oh man, this will be interesting. What's this? Is somebody ups? Let's see this. Whenever I see an Xbox guy upset over something,
to the PlayStation and Xbox.
Let's hear this.
Crucially, the only.
Let me pause this. Let me show you what I'm looking at. So,
crucially, the only place to play some of the.
This guy right here, Joey. He's part of We Bleed Green podcast, so you know he's hardcore on Xbox. We Bleed Green. Well, you're about to bleed PC, so anyway, let's see what he's upset about.
Crucially, the only place to play some of the best games available, as it should be, as I would argue it needs to be in order to survive as a concept. Dissolving the traditional barriers for entry to the PlayStation and Xbox's homegrown stuff may well have pushed a lineup on a chart somewhere temporarily, but it has done so at the cost of the console's prestige, its very soul. The PlayStation shouldn't just be one possible content distribution node in a platform-agnostic continuum. It should be the PlayStation, an experience, a feeling, an identity, a lifestyle, something that inspires fierce loyalty, something that does things only a PlayStation can do.
What's wrong with that? I mean, Joey, you only probably have issues because Xbox is not giving you that. But I guarantee if Xbox was going to give you true exclusives, not even on PC, you would be all about it. You're only upset because you can't get it. Now all of a sudden it's a problem. It's not our fault, but PlayStation is doing what you want Xbox to do, but Xbox just won't do it. Oh man, what's this about? What's this right here? Look at this. What is this? It says right here, according to Newzoo on PC Hunter's reporting, PC gamers prefer buying cheap and mid-price games under 50, says research firm Newzoo. PS5 and Xbox gamers vastly prefer buying premium games priced at 50 and above. I gotta read that Newzoo report, make a video on it. But that's pretty funny. And of course, J-Dub. Shout out to J-Dub saying they spend all the money on hardware and don't like buying games. Yo, that's crazy. You spend like $2,000-$3,000 and you don't even buy the premium games. Shout out to Tim Dog. Says breaking. Xbox gonna have exclusives. Shout out to Tim Dog. He's feeding the beast. That's pretty funny. What's this say? Kojima, Xbox, PlayStation, Bungie, Double Fine. EA Dice, Riot Games, King, Meta, GDC now has 23 sessions canceled. Wow, I don't know what happened, but this is a massacre. I heard there's a lot of cancellations on stuff like that. I don't really understand what's going on. Right? Now, here's one thing we'll talk about since we're on this. All right, so we talked a little bit about, my thoughts on this, right? But ultimately, just like anything else, who is this for? Like, who is the audience? Who is the primary group they're going after? Right? They already made the decision to move on from consoles. They found a way to get out of consoles and all that stuff, right? Release a PC. I'm not going to rehash everything I discussed, but we all know that. But now, ultimately, once it's done, who is this for? Now, of course, you're going to talk to all the hardcore Xbox fanboys or whatever, or Microsoft enthusiasts, that even when Microsoft's at their worst, they're all about Microsoft. They told the line. They constantly preach everything their message. They were the ones that were all about this in Xbox and all that stuff, right? But the general consumer audience. I saw this diagram, and I saw Oliver. He posted this, and this is a pretty good representation right here, right? You got three markets, right? You got the hardcore console market, the hardcore PC market, and the overall casual market across all of them. Project Helix is at the center of the hardcore console market and the hardcore PC market of gamers that really are into tech and really into jump into this. But to get that massive sales of this hardware, you need to blend the console market or casual market somewhere in there. And I don't think this product is gonna attract the casual market, right? And you're not gonna attract like the console market and the hardcore market that's like a step below, right? Because you got hardcore gamers, right? And you got casual gamers, but you also got those middle ground gamers, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? Like the hardcore gamers are the ones that will play anything and everything, like whatever. And the casuals, they're like the Madden, the Call of Duty guys, right? But you have guys that's like, they hover in the middle. They're in the middle. They'll play a few single player games. They'll play a few that a little bit more than a casual, but not up to the level as a hardcore day one, whatever. Project Helix is not going to attract those guys either. Because you got to ask yourself, who's Project Helix for? Who's going to attract? Well, you got the hardcore Xbox gamers who are on Xbox Series X and the ones who already made the jump to PC. They're definitely going to get this. Those guys who left Series X for PC, they're going to get this because it's in their lane. They get the best of 4 worlds. They get their Xbox library back while still being on PC. But as you know, there's not a lot of those guys, right? When you look at the Xbox community, it's now whittled down to about 30 million from the console side. And then out of the 30 million, half of them is Xbox Series S gamers. Like 15 million gamers that will not spend more than $300 on Xbox because they didn't buy the Series X. So they don't see paying $500 for an Xbox as something they want to do. But they were fine paying $300 and $250, some even $200. That's their range. How do you get them to buy this Helix at $1,000 or so, $1,200, $1,500? You're not. They're not interested in paying that much money. If they did, they would have at least bought the Series X, more powerful, more performant, and has all the games also, whatever, all the Xbox games, just like the Series S, right? And better performance. But they didn't care about that. They got the weaker console that has considerably worse performance, but they didn't care because they only paid $300. Now you're going to convince 15 million people to pay $1,000 a band or higher? They're not going to do that. So you probably lost the Xbox Series S gamers. So you already lost 15 million gamers right off the rip. So now the remainder is the Series X gamers, 15 million. How many of them is going to be, how would you say, not interested in any type of PC platform at all? They're just not interested. How many are you going to lose? How many of them are going to be like, you know what, I'm done. Now you're going to tell me we're going to jump into PC and it's $1,200. I'll just get a PlayStation and you can play the Xbox games there. They'll keep the Series X for the backwards compatibility. But, for me, backwards compatibility hasn't been the biggest selling point of all time for consoles. It hasn't really. I mean, it didn't really help the Series X and the Series S. All that backwards compatibility with 360. And you had maybe 30 OG Xbox games that's backwards compatible. That didn't really push Series X and S sales. Let's see, what's his name? I'm kind of Jorithor. I hope I pronounced your name. Thank you for the super chat. Says the Xbox Helix and Steam Machine are in a race to the bottom. Who is it for? Yeah. I mean, so 15 million Xbox Series X gamers. How many of them are just going to be done with Xbox? Once they realize Xbox is trying to sell them a PC. Sure, it has Xbox mode in the library, but it's still a PC environment. And the reason why I brought this up, because I seen on Twitter when Rogue first came out, within a week or two, some accounts, some Xbox gamers bought the ROG Ally and they were pissed off and they sent it right back. Because they said, this isn't an Xbox, this is a damn PC, even though it had Xbox mode. But it still was PC-ish for them. It wasn't really Xbox console-centric. They knew they weren't going to get fooled. Sure, you had a lot of, a lot of the cucks from Xbox, Hype and Rog, which nobody really bought, right? But the few people that bought because they thought it was an Xbox, they returned it back. And they talked about it on Twitter. They said they returned it because it was a PC device, and they said if they would have wanted a PC device, they would have bought a Lenovo Legion Go or the original ROG Ally a long time ago. They wanted an authentic Xbox handheld experience, so they returned it because it wasn't. So these gamers, so they talk about, us PlayStation fans or fanboys, but the reality is the true person that's going to make all the decisions is the one who walks into Best Buy. And there's no arguing with that person because they win. The consumer wins. Why? Because there's the one with the money. Us talking online, that doesn't mean anything. What means something is the consumer whipping out the debit card or cash to buy the product. That's why it's beautiful seeing all you Xbox fanboys complain about it's not fair, Xbox tax. No one gives a shit about your thing. At the end of the day, Microsoft couldn't convince a lot of gamers into buying a Series X. They walk into Best Buy, they walk out with a PlayStation. They log on to Amazon, they do search for PS5, and they click buy, and it gets mailed to them. Microsoft wasn't able to do that, so that's what counts. Don't try to argue with me because it's not like I'm gonna buy a million. This is not. Can the consumers actually see this as an Xbox? That's where it all comes down to it. And if the consumer says this is not an Xbox, this is just a PC, sure, it could play Xbox games, but I'm not down with this. Then that's it, you lost them. Call them fanboys, call media hate, call Xbox tax, call it all that you want. No one cares because the bottom line is the sell. And if you can't get it to sell, if you can't get the consumer to gravitate to this product, then it's shit out of luck. But I think Microsoft is willing to risk that because, again, the number one problem was the vast amount of millions they were losing on consoles. They probably lost billions at this point. So they're just done with it. They're just done losing billions for their hardware. So this is the way out. And then they just figure out how to get it to sell. Chances are they're not going to produce a lot. They're not going to produce a lot of Helixes. It's not going to be a huge range because it's going to be moderate. I think they're going to treat this in the way they treat their Surface tablets. Very expensive. It's there. They make money off it. But it's not like Surface tablets is the number one selling tablet in the world that dominates the market either. Right? It's just there. It's a hardware that they make. They make money off it. It's at a premium price. And if you want it, it's there. And I think that's how they're going to manage their gaming platform this point out. Right? And then, of course, to me, the true expansion of the Xbox library onto PC is going to come with the help of AMD when they release the cards that also use these technology. But I think this is not going to be exclusive to AMD. I think they're going to find a way to get this technology, not the hardware technology, but the capability. I'm sorry, I keep saying technology, the capability to play Xbox console games on PC, but with NVIDIA and Intel hardware. I think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to fragment the PC fan base. I don't think Microsoft is interested in doing that. Let's see what else we got here. All right, I think we talked about Xbox today. Let's talk about Crimson Desert. Let's talk about Crimson Desert. So some positive comments from Digital Foundry on Crimson Desert, right? But it's strictly on the PS5 Pro. They don't have a PS5 copy. And here's what's strange. The developers or the publisher, whoever's responsible to send them the copies, they didn't send them the copy of the game. They sent them the PS5 Pro with the game installed. So Digital Foundry does not have the capability to take the game and put on a PS5. Have y'all read about that? Who knew about that? Because I saw that in the Twitter conversation. the company sent them a PlayStation 5 Pro with the game already installed for them to try. So I don't know. That's weird. Because normally they would just send them a copy of the game, and then Digital Foundry would just install it on the PS5 and the PS5 Pro, and then they could do the analysis on both. So they would know. They were only able to do the analysis on the PS5 Pro. Hero Down Under. I mean, I ain't gonna say I don't care. I mean, I really don't care. I got the Pro. That's one of the reasons why I got the Pro. But it's from a conversational point, that is weird though. This game might be coming in hot for the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S. Woo! This game might be coming in hot. But here's the one thing. On the Pro, it ran well. Runs really good. But it's not PSSR 1.0 yet. They said by the time the game launches, it will be PSSR 2.0. It's right. Currently, the review they did was PSSR 1.0, and it was pretty good. It was really good. It was, Digital Foundry said it was an impressive performance in mode or whatever. But that's with PSSR 1.0. So it's going to be really good with PSSR 2.0. With Pisser 2.0, if Pisser 1 did a good job, then I don't see how much better it's going to get once the game actually has Pisser. Now, who's getting this game when it launches? I think it comes out next week or something, or soon. I'm going to wait a couple of months. To me, it's just I think this is the type of game that it's going to have maybe some issues. And there's going to be some planned improvements and updates over the next couple of months. And they're going to add more stuff to it for free. So I'm just going to wait a while. Let the game cook. But from what I've seen, the game seems insane. Like you can ride on a raptor, ride on a bear. It has a jetpack. Like it looks medieval or fantasy, like Lord of the Rings type stuff. But then it has all this dinosaurs and jetpacks and like, yo, this game is off the hook. It's like if you had a room full of 4-year-olds deciding to make a game. Like literally, like kids from kindergarten. Be like, hey, you guys have the power to make a game, make it. And they made Crimson Desert. Like it's just wild. All the stuff that's in there. So I'm just gonna let it cook for a little while. Let's see. Hopefully for the best. Hopefully it's a crazy fun game with all this weird stuff where magic and might meets ridiculousness, all mixed up in one sandbox game. But I'm glad I have the Pro though. They're saying Crimson Desert is Minecraft for adults. I'm glad I have the Pro. Remember when they said Pros was a scam? A lot of people who push that looking real stupid right now. They're looking real dumb. Am I the only one that's seen on Twitter like a lot of PS5 Pro like a lot of PS5 Pro people just going around saying they bought a Pro, they bought a Pro, they bought a Pro. Am I bugging? Or somehow that was just my algorithm doing that? Because just out of the blue, like I kept seeing, and you know what? I prefer that over the other BS I be usually seeing. But man, my timeline was flooded with randoms. And I thought maybe they were people I follow, or at least they follow me when I clicked that account. No, there was no me following them or them following me. Never seen these accounts. But it was just a lot of people just flooding my timeline. I was just seeing on my timeline, picked up the Pro. I made the decision. I picked up the Pro, And I'm like, this is weird. Heard about it sold out on the PlayStation Direct website, which is pretty interesting. Given, how late into the game we are, to actually see it sold out, that's pretty interesting. And seeing all these sales, it made me wonder, right? Because along with the conversation Helix, is PlayStation 6 really going to release in 2027? Some are still saying that, yes, it's going to release in 2027. Everything's done, right? But I'm left wondering, if PlayStation 5 Pro and PlayStation 5 still have good, significant sales, And let's say this. Hear me out. Let's say this. If PlayStation 5 just has a slight uptick of sales because of Pisser 2.0 and Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out in November, if that causes a consistent uptick of sales of PS5 Pro, I'm not saying it's overtaking PS5 normal sales, base PS5 sales. I'm not saying it's selling 20 million a year. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it set a new benchmark of sales beyond what they did with PS4 Pro. A good uptick of sales because more and more people are buying the Pro because of GTA 6. And you're seeing that all throughout 2027, right? Which means gamers who normally wouldn't buy a mid-gen refresh or an upgraded console, they're buying it for the first time. So can you imagine a nice uptick of console sales powered by the PS5 Pro, and users who never bought the PS4 Pro or don't even have a PlayStation at all, they decided to buy the Pro, upgrade, all that stuff, and GTA 6 was a huge driver into that. My bad, sorry. Along with, the stuff for the rest of the year, with Pisser 2.0 really shining. And now you're getting this slight uptick of sales. PS5 maintaining its sales. Let's say it maintains its sales. Maybe it does it even a little bit better because GTA 6 also impacts in a positive way to get more sales. And now you're seeing great sales in 2027. Wouldn't releasing the PlayStation 6 cut the legs off on that? Wouldn't people who bought a PS5 Pro in 2026, in 2026 and 2027 look at Sony like, what the F are you doing? I just bought my Pro. Because when you think about it, if they release a PlayStation 6 in 2027, the Pro by that point has only been out for 3 years. Because remember, the Pro came out in 2024. I bought it in 2024. And now you release new hardware when my hardware just turned 3 years old. And that's me and those of us that bought the Pro launch. What about the people who buy this year? And people who buy next year? Because of, imagine buying a Pro early 2027, so you're going to enjoy GTA 6, and 9 months later, 10 months later, the PS6 comes out. How? People will never do a mid-gen refresh purchase again, at a minimum. They'll be like, I'm never buying a mid-gen refresh ever again. For what? I'd rather just wait for the play. So, like, this would, one, would you want to slow down the momentum of your PS5 and your PS5 Pro selling based on what GTA 6 does for the platform? That's one. And then number two, do you want to screw over your PlayStation 6 mid-gen refresh, your PlayStation 6 Pro? Because if people bought the PS5 Pro and they only got 3 years out of it, then the next time people will be like, you know what? I'm not buying a PlayStation 6 Pro. I'm going to just buy the PlayStation 6 and that's it. Because then if I buy the PlayStation 6 Pro, 3 years later, the PlayStation 7 comes out. And some people are like, screw that. I'm not doing that no more. You see what I'm saying? So for me, I think the date 2027 isn't totally locked. I think that console sales can influence Sony to delay the PS6 launch if they haven't done it already. Because if your current hardware is doing phenomenal and there's an uptick of PS5 Pro sales, why would you cut that off the knees? Why would you cut it at the knees? Why would you cut your momentum? Be interesting. Be interesting to see that. Now, I seen online people already talking about PS6 versus Helix performance. Nah, I'm not doing that. Like I said, the earliest we're going to see these products is late 2027. So we really going to do this whole power stuff and get out of here. Like, have we not learned from 2020, early 2020? Like, nah. That's not even a good conversation. It's a long way off. We got a lot of time. we're in March of 2026. We got the rest of the year 2026 and the entire year of 2027 before the first hardware comes out. And that's assuming Helix comes out in 2027 or PS6, because those things could be 2028. That's just way too much time to invest in the conversation. Glassdoor Gamer, thank you for the super chat. Says, pretty funny that Xbox guys say consoles are dying while PC companies is trying to make consoles. These guys all have identity crisis. Yeah, it's hilarious, right? Consoles dying, but Steam wants to entice the console gamers. Let's see. What else we got here? What else did I want to talk about? I think I had it. Oh yeah, let's talk about this last thing. Look at this. Shay, appreciate you guys here. Thank you so much for rocking out. Hope you're enjoying the stream. Please hit the like button. This right here. This I found this entertaining. I really found this entertaining. Check this out. This is funny.
For the people who bought in, for the true believers, the green bloods, there was a special Project Scorpio edition of the Xbox One X. And buddy, you better pre-order today before it's gone forever. That trailer in particular is fun to go back to because it's doing this thing where it is almost reverentially using these clips of Phil Spencer, who is just talking, trying to make this more like an event, like it's a big deal. This is serious.
2 years ago when we started on this journey, you told us you wanted power.
Again, I'm saying that it was never Xbox fans' fault that they loved Phil Spencer so much. Marketing was using his quotes the same way Nike does in Michael Jordan commercials.
The most powerful console ever made.
Just 3 years after that highly successful Project Scorpio reveal, it was already time for the reveal of a new project, Project Scarlet. And yeah, they said, let's just do that same thing we did 3 years ago.
This is the most immersive console experience ever.
And something I found really funny about watching that whole video again is, you might remember just last week, I was looking at Asha Sharma's messaging about the return of Xbox and what that meant. And she says, yeah, Xbox is PC, mobile, and cloud, but it starts with console. And she used that same language in the Windows Central interview, starting with console. All right, so here's how Xbox was talking almost 7 years ago. Here's the first thing they say.
When we think about the future of gaming, it's not just PC, it's not just console, it's not just mobile. It's really all of the above.
Okay.
I can't with this company no more, bro. I just can't with Microsoft, man. I can't with this fucking company, bro. Xbox Gamers, how the fuck can you stand this company, bro? I don't know. Yo, I gotta, you know what? I gotta get with a psychologist or something, and I gotta start a project on studying these guys. I don't know how can you mess with this company, bro? How y'all fucks with Xbox is beyond me, bro. Like, how can you stand this company, bro? Like, I can't with these motherfuckers. I can't. Like, yo, this shit is crazy. Like, bro, this shit is crazy. Check this out. Let's continue. Let's go back a little bit.
It's PC, it's not just console, it's not just mobile. It's really all of the above.
Okay.
The games you want with the people you want on the devices that you want.
And for us, that starts with our next generation console.
What the fuck? Sony just said the same thing. Nothing changed. It's the same pitch. The same pitch. And what happened when they did that the first time, saying it starts with the console? They put Gears Tactics first on PC. Flight Simulator first on PC. Death Stranding exclusive on PC Game Pass. Never made it to console Game Pass. Aria exclusive to PC Game Pass. Towers Born beta, whatever. PC only. Early access on PC. They said it starts on console, but they gave everything to PC first. Like nothing was given to the console first. From that day on. From that day forward, when you look at the moves Microsoft did, nothing was given to Series X, Series S first. Everything was either the same time with PC or first on PC. Nothing was given to the console over the PC. Again, Aria, Gears Tactics, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Towerborn, Death Stranding on PC Game Pass. It was just consistently preference for PC over and over and over and over. Yo, this is wild, bro. How, you PC, Xbox dudes, how? How can you stand this company, bro? How are you not disgusted? How are you not vomiting at the word Xbox when you hear it? Like, this is crazy. I'm gonna go back and see this. We gotta regurgitate. Yo, this is crazy.
All of the above.
Okay.
The games you want with the people you want on the devices that you want.
And for us, that starts with our next generation console.
Phew. So that's what's so crazy about this. Nothing has changed. When Asha Sharma says Xbox is back, apparently she just meant back to 2019. And what is...
Oh my God, bro. Yo, I snorted. This is how crazy. I apologize for that. This is wild, bro. Oh my God, this is just like bruh. Like, what are we doing here? Like, how is this possible? Shout out to this guy, bro, because to find out wow, good memory, good research. Good memory, good research. Because that's just wild to me. That's just wild.
It is so
Hold up. That's I really don't. That's crazy. I don't know how you Xbox guys do it, man. I like that, like, like how you guys aren't frustrated with Microsoft is beyond me. How you not like if Sony did half the shit Microsoft did, I would have punted PlayStation in the stands. Like, you saw me, I crashed out on PlayStation just for Helldivers going to Xbox. And I crashed the fuck out. Like, yo. Shout out to J Hart. He said MK Ultra level mind control. This is just some wild stuff. Like, all right, let's go.
Nothing has changed. When Asha Sharma says Xbox is back, apparently she just meant back to 2019. And what is so confusing about it is that it's not worth going back to. Those were not glory days. Project Scorpio didn't work. Project Scarlet did not work. But what the heck, everyone? Here's Project Helix. Please retweet. For the...
Oh, that is funny. Yo, that is funny. That is funny. That dude is funny. That dude That's some funny shit right there. I see some funny shit.
People who bought in,
I
for the
see some
true
funny shit,
believers.
but man, that is some funny. That is funny, man. Yeah, that is funny. Wow, that is funny. What is this? Hold on. Oh, this looks funny. So IGN, oh my god. So IGN did a video.
The best thing to come out of all the recent chat about the future of living room game boxes isn't Project Helix.
It's called whatever PS6 is. I just hope it's a PlayStation.
Or whatever the PS6 will be. It's this. No, not the Steam machine itself, on which the jury is still very much out in terms of its viability, but this specific shot of it with the wooden faceplate. Look at that, it's gorgeous. It's like Magnavox designed the GameCube. It's a sensory blast of nostalgia.
Yo, it says like Magnavox designs the GameCube because of the wooden thing. Remember when TVs look like furniture? I'm showing my age. For those of you who are a little older, remember how TVs they look like furniture? Should you remember those days? Anybody remember those? Everybody had a grandma that still had a TV that looked like a furniture. It was like wood and had all this shit. It looked like it was like a table. He said. It's like a Magnavox designed the GameCube. That is funny. Zenith. Zenith was notorious for that. Shout out to Glassdoor Gamers. Zenith was notorious for creating TVs that look like furniture. This shit is wild.
Like skull ashtrays in a flat roof pub or white dog except you can run Cyberpunk on it. It's just a changeable faceplate, but showing off this throwback design was, I think, and perhaps unwittingly, the opening salvo of the next console war, for lack of a better term. Why? Here's why. I can't use that. That's someone else's thing. As this most damp squib of a console gen starts wrapping up before it ever really got going, PlayStation and Xbox both find themselves hurtling toward an existential cliff edge. The console business is stagnant, possibly even contracting, as up-and-coming generations Z, Alpha, and future survivors of the AI apocalypse simply don't have any lingering affection for these brands or the kinds of games they specialize in.
I don't know. I mean, I disagree with that statement because you got over 90 plus million consoles sold and they weren't dropped down to $300. If anything, I think the console market is more dedicated now than ever before. Granted, the volume is not there essentially, but the thing is, you got consoles 5 years old and people are still paying $550 for it. We never seen this before in previous console gen. Console 5 years old being sold for $500 and people still buying it? An uptick of PS5 Pro consoles being sold? Now, granted, would PS5 sell an insurmountable, I can say insurmountable, that's ridiculous. But a lot? If it was $300, oh, of course. Oh my God, I can only imagine how much more the PS5 would sell at $300. Or let's say $300 for the all digital, $400 for the disc. And let's say $600 for the Pro. Insane amount of sales. Right? And then I think people, at least from the PlayStation side, will say, oh yeah, the console market's growing, it's getting big, Sony's doing great. But I don't think people realize consoles are $500 generally. That's a lot for a 5-year-old, 6-year-old product. But people are still generally buying it. Still generally doing good. Now, it's Xbox that's trash. But that's not a console generation thing. That's just Xbox. Because Nintendo's doing fine. on their side of the house. It's really just Xbox that sucks. That's it. Everybody else is fine.
The problem is that Roblox runs on their phones, and kids are about as discerning about their entertainment as the average middle-aged man is about garage flowers on February the 13th. And it's the middle-aged who are, therefore, the big but ever-diminishing cow whose milking sustains the home console business. The point is that people like me, and statistically people watching this are a big, shrinking bovine whose wages aren't going up in line with the prospect of perhaps having to spend $1,000 just to play Uncharted 5, which is an even worse proposition when you consider that they're not even making Uncharted 5. It's not even on the cards. Do you realise how mad it is for PS5 to not have its own Uncharted? That's like, imagine Sega spent an entire console generation not bothering to bring out a Sonic game, which is a thing that did happen, and funnily enough, is arguably one of the main reasons why you can play Sonic games on Nintendo now. In fact, the very concept of consoles has been in a dire state ever since both Sony and Microsoft started putting their signature games on other platforms.
I mean, I don't want to play his whole video because I like to respect the content creator. So if you want to see the whole video, you're going to have to go to IGN and see it there.
A strategy which we all had a collective madness about.
And stuff like that. Now, if it was something I was making fun of, probably be different, right? But this just seems informative and stuff like that in nature. But, you know. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, listen. Great conversation, great talk for you guys. I want to say, first off, thank you so much for rocking out with the channel. Thank you so much for spending your Friday night with me. I hope you were able to enjoy it. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. But we're going to wrap this up on this Friday evening, right? Pretty good time, right? 2.5 hours. Not too much, you know. Making sure there's no other super chats. Nope. But I want to say thank you so much, man. Your only friend is YouTube Streets Puertorock77, and I cannot thank you guys enough, and I cannot appreciate you guys enough for stopping by, hanging out with me. Thank you so much for rocking with the channel. Thank you so much for the memberships. Thank you so much, Major Claridge, and everybody that supports the channels, really supports the community. Thank you so much. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for engaging with me in this community, man. Thank you for showing up on Tuesdays and on Friday. I mean, believe me, it's not lost on me that you guys are amazing. You guys could be anywhere else, and I hope that I'm providing entertainment and in the content that you enjoy. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys Tuesday, 60 Frames No Lag podcast, 8:30 p.m. with the crew. But until then, man, I really hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Have a safe, wonderful weekend. If something crazy happens, I'll drop a video, or I might just drop an opinion piece. But I am absolutely thankful for the community and absolutely thankful for you guys. You guys take care. Have a wonderful Friday and have a wonderful weekend. You guys take care. Peace.